This is Judge Herb Dodell. The show is called For the People because it is for you, the people. We talk about current events a lot as well as what goes on in the legal system. And right now, a hot subject is the Fifth Amendment and the right to attorney-client privilege. So we're going to talk about both of those. This segment will talk about the privilege, the attorney-client privilege, and the next one we'll talk a little bit about the Fifth Amendment. Now there is ingrained in the system something called an attorney-client privilege. That means that when you go to see an attorney, you can say whatever you want to him or her and it's protected. It cannot be disclosed, except there is something called the crime fraud exception. And that's what's being talked about right now, and it may be applicable. Now that they've grabbed all of Mr. Cohen's books and records and tapes and whatever else he has there, the real question is, can they use it? And the answer is definitely, maybe. It's because you need to make a foundational finding first. Now, the crime fraud exemption or exception is designed to prevent an attorney from participating with the client in committing a criminal act. It doesn't relate to past conduct. It only relates to something that's continuing or might happen in the future. For example, if you're telling your attorney you want to write a phony check to pay some phony debt and you're trying to do something that's not legal, then there's no privilege. And the attorney has to give up whatever it is. And if there's a cover-up, which is where a lot of this is going to be leading, I guess, then that privilege doesn't exist either. So what happens? They've grabbed all this stuff. Can they use it? What happens in the next part of it is that there's a special group, believe it or not, in the U.S. Attorney's Office that reviews all of these things to see whether or not the privilege exists or it doesn't or the exception applies. And that's a group that is not related to the investigation of the case. So there's at least some degree of oversight to prevent any kind of abuses. And then at some point, a judge will decide, sometimes it's done what they call in camera, meaning that it's done only the judge sees or hears the information, and will decide whether or not the privilege is waived, because that's what it is. It's really a waiver of the privilege. And if it comes in, it can be extraordinarily damaging. And that probably leads to the next part of the discussion regarding privileges, and that deals with the Fifth Amendment. And sometimes the Fifth Amendment is used to shield against disclosure of attorney-client privilege communications. But that depends on each case. We'll talk a little bit more about the Fifth Amendment. The show is called For the People, available on iHeartRadio. And if you have any questions, you can contact me at AskJudgeHerb@gmail.com.